Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Good to see you again. Welcome back to Popternative.
Oh, thank you for having me back on. Sorry for the disconnect this morning, but I'm sitting in a big parking lot. And where am I normally? In a big parking lot somewhere. Well, I've been in Washington, D.C., getting ready for this weekend's Vans Warped Tour.
It's so crazy. I can't believe, we could talk about, the early days of Vans Warped Tour, but I want to go, last year was the big kind of announcement that Warped Tour was back, right? There was going to be some dates, some shows. Then you announced that you're going to return for this summer, more cities as well. Can you take me through? I mean, I'm sure it's a long kind of explanation. There's a lot, but like that post-mortem, right? Like from last year versus this year, what were the things in your opinion that worked, didn't work? You know what I mean? Like, can you talk about that last year versus this year?
Last year was probably just way too easy, to be honest. It was like, oh, Warp's back. Everyone bought all the tickets, not knowing the bands. It was one of those things. It's learning what the audience is now. I really strive. We want to appeal to some of those older fans that came to Warped Tour, sparking memories, bringing back some of those bands. But I really wanted to come back and hopefully reignite a younger group of people and turn them on to this music and give them a place. So, why we focus on such bands like Lolo and Honey Revenge and these type of bands. Of course, there's always, Simple Plan and Rise Against. Those are the bands that we work to get to a place like this together. They were part of my career. I was part of their career. It was a little like an old homecoming backstage. Super, people were real happy to see each other. Kind of a lot of stories were told. That was like last year was kind of like this kind of days of like, oh, wow. This year, it's back to like, oh, we got to work hard. We're working hard. Not only, it's there's a lot of festivals out there now. A lot of bands are playing a lot of festivals. The environment and culture has changed. A lot of things out, there's a lot of forces out there that we didn't create, down in the States, we've got, a lot of craziness around these travel gas prices, a war, a lot of unknown. People are having a hard time getting, deciding, I'm in DC this weekend. I never expected to say the word UFC fighting and White House on the same sentence that a Warped Tour would be in town. There are a lot of things going on out here that sometimes, we can't control, but it's how we react to them. We're about in this point of we're going to do some things, understanding that getting to a show, getting the hotel rooms are really expensive. Maybe people can only come to one day of Warped Tour, things like that. So it's adjusting, trying to figure out to where to go. But then we've expanded. We're up in Montreal later this summer, and we're going down to Mexico City. So what a great time to bring people together and talking about music in a time where sometimes it's not created by the people. Maybe things are happening that, our countries are the closest to each other they can be, as close as you could be as people. We think a lot alike. We work the same way. We just love music together. And you know what? Maybe I could do a little event that brings us together a little more.
It's crazy. Like, we talked last time, even talked about Taste of Chaos and everything. Montreal is just Montreal Warped Tour, right? That's just a match made in heaven, right? And you talk to a lot of bands like August Burns Red. Montreal's like their favorite place to play in the world. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the bands, are real excited about that. We went back to Montreal. It's our old friends from Evenco, Nick Farkas and Daniel and that crew up there are so good to work with that it was natural for me because I do like to work with good people. And the people I work with now at Insomniac that are my partners down here in the U.S. are great, and making that could be a natural fit. And hopefully we can, work on building a market up there again to people a great show. There's a lot of great festivals up in Montreal already, but I don't think there's one that services this audience.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna have FOMO, Kevin. I'm gonna miss Montreal this year. I mean, for a cool reason, but I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah, no, sorry you won't be able to make it, but yeah, you did tell me what you're doing, and congratulations on that.
Yeah,
and if hopefully everything willing, we'll be back there in the future.
Absolutely. So it's interesting, right? Because I know, talking to you and like always like the Kevin Says stage was always a big thing where like, you like those were certain bands that, you really wanted to have part of Warped Tour and everything. So like the selection process is very interesting, and discovery of, bands is always interesting. And I look at, when I grew up, Pure Volume, MySpace, you found a lot of those bands. Yeah. And then later on, it was like Bandcamp. Now it's TikTok, right? With like bands like The Paradox, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you find that that's interesting? The different kind of ways you're finding these kind of new indie bands as well?
I mean, I do admit that I do kind of watch, on the plane yesterday. If you get the algorithm going in the right direction, it's going to feed you a lot of great music. If you get it the wrong way, I get a lot of fishing videos or maybe a lot of political videos. But I got it going into a music ways. And out a 5.5 hour flight across the country yesterday, you're just going down and watching people the way they're projecting music. And luckily I had internet, and then, I'm searching a bit more and then going into Spotify to take a listen, and dig in a little deeper. So yeah, definitely different tools now than the old days of a big pile of CDs that were sent to you in the mail that you would just be listening to all day on your boombox on your on your desk.
Absolutely. Um, it's interesting because you look at the variety of Vans Warped Tour and like the genres of bands and artists that play on. And early on, even we talked about this when you first came on the show, there always was, some different kind of, genres in there. But I want to talk specifically about the incorporation of more the heavier stuff and the metal. So I want to kind of know when there was kind of this decision by you and the whole film festival to incorporate, metalcore and metal bands. I want to know, A, what was that like that first year? And then B, was there kind of a band or a moment where you were like, yeah, this is gonna work, like incorporating these metal bands with the
Well,
punk
I mean that.
festival?
Yeah, I mean that kind of going all the way back to 2005, and you started hearing those bands, like the Used and things like that. Even though they were emo, but
Yeah,
like this term emo, but there was like metal influences on them,
yeah.
and then those smaller stages were always like that entry point when I put someone on small, that was Sleeping with Sirens or Memphis Mayfire, and you watch how the fans were reacting to them. You're like, oh, these younger bands are being influenced by the generation before, but making it their own.
Mhm.
So they're listening to more the sounds of the bands. For me, it was at one point I go, oh wow, they're all listening to music on shuffle somewhere because there were so many mixes of sounds in a band, and it wasn't polarizing in any way. Where maybe I think we were a lot more niche oriented back in a day. If you didn't sound a certain way, I mean the public became much more open minded to different sounds and different music, and appreciating different sounds and different music based on the accessibility that music became.
Yeah.
We can argue that, albums, CDs, singles, the things we used to buy were somewhat limiting, but man, you're not going to maybe run out and buy like a Turkish Mong drum and bass band that's playing metal riffs
Mhm.
album. But hey, man, if you saw that, you might click on Spotify, take a listen, and all
Mhm.
of a sudden your influences like somehow is in your brain's kicking the next time you're writing a song that goes, oh, that riff sounded pretty cool.
No, absolutely. To kind of add to that too, like I kind of said before we started this interview that Warped Tour holds a special place in my heart because some of my favorite bands I discovered through Warped Tour, like 4 Years Strong. That was the first time I ever heard of them
Yeah.
was Vans Warped Tour, and but also like Warped Tour was where I was able to see like Forever the Sickest Kids for the first time, Norma Jean for the first time, right? So that was kind of important as well. Do you hear that a lot? That it's not only like I've discovered my favorite band at Warped Tour, but like that's the first time I was able to see my favorite band because that was really important to me growing up. Like I saw Newfound
Abs-
Glory for the first time. Like a lot of my friends actually know I saw Newfound Glory open up for Green Day and the American Idiot tour. But when they came to like one of the last times you guys came to Montreal, Newfound Glory was on the show, and that was like a first time a lot of my friends were able to see Newfound Glory, right? So that was
yeah,
important too.
I mean, absolutely, and I'm hoping that we can continue that. We're not traveling like we used to, but I'm hoping people come early and look at those stages in the same way. Like, oh, with the cost of going to a club is not cheap these days. Like,
Mhm.
it's a commitment financially many times to go see a band in a club. But hey, I could check them out on Warped Tour. I'm going to watch some of those smaller stages while I wait for maybe Yellow Card or Rise Against that I totally have connected with. And then all of a sudden you're going to be sitting there, and I've mentioned, Honey Revenge or some of these bands, South Arcade. You're going to go, wait a second, I got it. Whoa, this is something I would love to see again, and
Mhm.
maybe I want to be listening to again.
Absolutely. There's a band from Chicago. We were talking about we talked about the Paradox. They played Warped Tour. I think they are playing Warped Tour again this year, right? The
Yeah,
Paradox. I'm not sure if the Fluorescents from Chicago are they on?
so good, so
Yeah,
good.
like
I
really,
I
like
I,
so good.
I think I
Like
commented. I commented on one of their. They said they answer every Instagram post. I'm testing them. I posted on their Instagram yesterday. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
It's going to be amazing. No, that I saw the lineup, and it's amazing. And tickets are still available. Passes are still available as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We still have some passes available for the show, and come on down or catch us at one of the future shows this summer in Long Beach next month, and we'll
Yeah.
be in August. We'll be up in lovely Montreal, and in September down in Mexico City, and wrap up the year in November in Orlando, Florida.
Obviously, the return of, anytime I have always ideas of doing things, and I always have this idea of scale up. You don't want to start a big thing huge right away. You want to scale it up, right? So the return of Warped Tour, you did some dates last year, you added some more dates this year. I don't know if you can answer this. You'll see how it is. Is there any discussions on going back to like the original big multiple city format,
No,
or
it's
is that
the economic
yeah?
models. Just my models were very tight.
Mhm.
I know people's commitment by I'm trying to still keep it as cheap as possible and fair as possible for the
Yeah.
show. Just the whole economics of the touring world and the business right now, and then the spinoff of selling albums and something isn't there.
Yeah.
So artists, driven their economic model is different now. Mine has to be different. We still try to deliver a great show for the price. And every day I'm trying to think about how we can keep it this way as long as possible.
Absolutely. No, really well said. And it's interesting too to see all the different kinds of, synergies there are with a lot of bands and everything. You look at a band like Ice Nine Kills, and they're just doing so much in the horror movie space and everything. And it's just really cool that Sumerian, they are making films as well. Do you think that's
Yeah.
really cool right now that there is this kind of tag team with specifically, music and film? I love that these last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to be able to diversify your brand. I hate to say use the word. I teach marketing and branding in college. So the more tentacles you can put out that are organic and feel right, the better. You don't want to force it. You can't force that authenticity. But it was natural for like a Sumerian and Ash making films and the bands he works with figure out how to blend this together, because starting anything from anew is really hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard to, the algorithms have ruined our ability to reach people
Mhm.
through really, we think you reach people through social media. It's really, really hard, and it gets very expensive too, to actually
Mhm.
make a reach. So, you need to find those organic relationships and partnerships through life. And that's kind of how Warped always worked. You always had these people that wanted to support it, and you wanted to support their businesses, and we kind of supported each other on a year-round basis, as well as those bands, the bands that, as they got bigger, some of them realized they maybe had to take a little step back financially to bring the younger bands behind them. It was a really nice environment overall.
When do you think people are going to start to realize that event planning, and when I say events, whether it's a music festival, a film, it literally is just problem solving, Court. Like that's literally all it is. If you think about it, do you think people are going to start realizing that more, that, you
Yeah.
are a professional troubleshooter for a punk
That's
rock music festival?
you have to make a lot of quick decisions. You have to make a lot of firm decisions and live and die by those decisions. Even if maybe if you had a week or two to ponder them and analyze them, maybe the decision might have changed, but you have to be able to convincingly make decisions.
Absolutely. And like I said, Warped Tour is back. All the description will be out. Like you said, passes are available. And then, a lot more. So you're in Washington, D.C. this weekend, and then the next one is Long Beach.
Yeah, down in Long Beach, California. Back home. That's always a big show with all our friends down there and everything. And then just keep plugging away and then blend in teaching 5 classes in between all that, and balancing family and friends. It's been my life. I've been very fortunate to have this life.
Absolutely. As always, it's an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for everything you have done for music and with the Warped Tour. Like it really means a lot to myself and a lot of people. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing your project. You'll have to let me know when it's done.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Pop Turner, youtube.com/Pop Turner for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Kevin and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.